It was an ordinary day on Earth when everything changed. The sun was bright and the birds were singing. People went about their daily lives, unaware that something unimaginable was about to happen. It started with a strange signal from space, a signal that made Earth's military leaders sit up in shock. The signal was unlike anything they had ever encountered. It was clear, but its origin was unknown. Scientists and experts scrambled to make sense of it, but the answer was simple. The signal came from an alien race, one that had been watching Earth for years. They were coming. Across the world, military bases were put on high alert. In every country, soldiers were called into action. On the other side of the globe, in a small town in America, Private Leo Johnson was sitting in a cafe when his phone rang. He didn't know it yet, but his life was about to change forever. Leo had just enlisted a few months ago. He was young, eager, but scared. His training had been tough, but nothing had prepared him for this. The voice on the phone was firm. "Get to the base. It's time." He quickly left his coffee and ran out of the cafe, his heart racing. He didn't know exactly what was happening, but he felt a chill down his spine. His first real mission was about to begin. The military base, known as the Runway, was a top-secret facility located deep underground. It was there that Earth's best soldiers were assembled for the fight. Soldiers from every country gathered, ready for a battle they couldn't have imagined. As Leo entered the Runway, he was overwhelmed by the size and scale of the operation. The base was buzzing with activity. Soldiers were running drills, loading weapons, and preparing fighter jets. It was like nothing he had ever seen. He was nervous, but he tried to hide it. Everyone around him seemed so confident, so ready. Leo didn't want to be the weak link. He was assigned to a group of elite soldiers led by Sergeant Jackson. Jackson was a seasoned warrior who had seen many battles, but even he looked worried. The aliens had never been seen up close, but their fleet was coming fast. Earth had no idea what to expect. The soldiers began training hard, learning how to operate the latest fighter jets and high-tech weapons. Leo's hands trembled as he tried to learn how to fly a fighter jet. It wasn't like the video games he had played. This was real. But he couldn't afford to fail. The survival of Earth depended on it. The alien ships were getting closer. The base grew quieter as the reality of the situation set in. The soldiers knew they were outmatched, but they had no choice. They had to fight. It happened faster than anyone could have imagined. The alien fleet appeared in the sky, massive and silent. Their ships looked unlike anything Earth had ever seen, smooth, dark, and almost alive. The air around them seemed to shimmer with energy. Before Earth's forces could react, the aliens attacked. Massive energy blasts struck cities and military bases around the world, causing chaos and destruction. The Runway was the last place on Earth where soldiers were still standing strong. The battle had begun. Sergeant Jackson's voice came over the radio. "Get to your jets." Now, Leo's heart raced as he climbed into the cockpit of a fighter jet. He had trained for this moment, but now, faced with the real thing, his fear surged. He wasn't ready. No one was ready. The jets took off, soaring into the sky as explosions rocked the ground below. The alien ships were firing relentlessly, their weapons far more powerful than anything Earth had. The soldiers in the jets tried to fight back, but the alien ships were too fast and too strong. Leo struggled to keep control of his jet as he dodged the alien fire. The sky was filled with flashing lights, the sound of lasers cutting through the air, and the deafening roar of engines. He could feel his heart pounding in his chest. This wasn't just a test anymore. This was real. This was war. As the battle raged on, Leo saw his fellow soldiers being taken out one by one. The alien ships were merciless. His squadron was outnumbered, and they were losing. But Leo wasn't ready to give up. He had been trained for this moment, and he would fight until the end. Just when it seemed like Earth's forces were going to lose, something unexpected happened. Leo, in a desperate move, led his squadron on a daring attack against the heart of the alien fleet. They knew it was risky, but they had nothing left to lose. Leo's squadron flew straight into the heart of the alien ships, dodging blasts and weaving through the chaos. It felt like time had slowed down as they approached the alien mothership. Leo knew they had one shot. With a final, coordinated effort, Leo and his squadron fired everything they had at the alien flagship. A series of explosions rocked the ship, and for a moment, everything went silent. The aliens began to retreat, their fleet falling apart. The tide of battle had turned. Leo and his squadron had done it. They had won the first battle. Earth had survived, but they knew it was only the beginning. The aliens would be back. But for now, they had one victory to hold on to. As Leo looked out at the sky, he couldn't help but feel a mix of pride and fear. He had faced his worst nightmare and had survived. But in the back of his mind, he knew that Earth's fight was far from over. The true war had just begun. It was a calm morning on Earth when everything changed. People went about their normal routines, parents taking children to school, workers heading to their jobs. But far above them, something was happening in the sky. A strange object appeared, slowly moving toward Earth. It was unlike anything anyone had ever seen. A large ship, dark and shiny, hovered above the clouds. The world didn't know it yet, but they were about to face their worst enemy. In military command centers around the world, alarms blared. The object wasn't from Earth, it was alien. The military quickly scrambled to investigate, sending fighter jets and satellites to track the object. But before they could react, a second ship appeared. Then another. Soon, the sky was filled with strange, powerful ships. Earth was under attack. The President of the United States, along with leaders from other countries, held an emergency meeting. Panic spread across the world, but the leaders knew there was no time to waste. They had to act quickly, or Earth would fall. The first battle for Earth's survival had begun. In a military base deep underground, soldiers from all over the world were preparing for what seemed like an impossible fight. Among them was Private Sarah Martinez, a young soldier who had just completed her basic training. She had always dreamed of serving her country, but she never imagined her first mission would be an alien invasion. Sarah had been assigned to one of Earth's top military squads, led by Captain Robert Davis. Captain Davis was a seasoned soldier who had seen many battles, but even he was nervous about what was to come. No one knew the strength of the alien ships. All they knew was that they were powerful and their weapons were unlike anything Earth had. As Sarah suited up in her combat gear, she couldn't shake the feeling of fear. The soldiers around her were quiet, focused, but she could see the worry in their eyes. She wasn't sure if she was ready. Could she really fight an alien enemy? Captain Davis gathered his team and gave them a brief but powerful speech. This is the moment we've trained for. Earth's future depends on us. Stay focused, stay sharp, and together we'll show them what humanity can do. With those words, Sarah felt a spark of determination. She was ready to fight. They all were. The alien ships had already attacked several major cities, unleashing devastating beams of energy that destroyed buildings and left entire regions in ruins. Earth's cities were in chaos. People were running for their lives as the military scrambled to mount a defense. Sarah and her team boarded their fighter jets, which had been modified with the latest technology to defend against the alien ships. As the jets took off, Sarah's heart raced. She had never flown a fighter jet before, but she had no choice. They were Earth's last line of defense. The skies above the base were dark with alien ships. They moved in perfect formation, intimidating and powerful. Sarah's team joined the other squadrons, taking position to attack. The first wave of missiles was launched, but they barely scratched the surface of the alien ships. The alien shields were too strong. As Sarah watched, one of the jets from her squadron was hit by an alien beam. It exploded in a fiery ball, and the pilot's screams echoed through their radios. Sarah clenched her fists, a mix of fear and anger rising within her. They had to do more. They had to fight back. Captain Davis's voice crackled over the radio. "Stick together! We take them down, or we all fall." The soldiers responded with a chorus of "Yes, sir." Their determination was clear. They weren't going to give up without a fight. The battle raged on for hours, and Earth's forces were losing ground. The alien ships were too powerful, their weapons too advanced. The military was outmatched, and Sarah began to lose hope. The fate of Earth seemed uncertain. But then, a surprising event occurred. A small group of soldiers, including Sarah's squadron, noticed a weakness in the alien ship's armor. There was a tiny gap in their defenses, barely noticeable, but enough to exploit. Captain Davis quickly gathered his team and ordered a daring move: attack the gap with everything they had. Sarah's squadron took the lead. As they approached the alien ships, they fired everything they had, aiming for the weak spot. The first few shots missed, but Sarah refused to give up. Her hands trembled as she fired once again. This time, her missile hit the target. There was an explosion. The alien ship trembled and began to fall from the sky. It was a small victory, but it was enough to give Earth's forces hope. The other soldiers quickly followed suit, targeting the same weak spots. One by one, the alien ships began to fall. The battle finally ended as the last alien ship exploded in the sky. Earth had won its first battle, but the cost was high. Many soldiers had fallen, and entire cities had been destroyed. Sarah stood on the runway, looking up at the sky. She was exhausted, but she felt a strange sense of pride. They had fought back against an enemy stronger than any they could have imagined. Captain Davis approached her. "You did good today, Private. We all did. But this is only the beginning. The aliens will be back. We have to be ready." Sarah nodded. She knew he was right. The battle had been won, but the war was far from over. Earth had proven that it could fight back, and Sarah was determined to keep fighting. She had taken the first step towards saving the world, and now she was ready for whatever came next. The sun was setting, painting the sky with shades of orange and red, but there was no peace on Earth. The world was in chaos. Aliens had invaded, and the human race was facing its greatest threat yet. Massive ships hovered above major cities, and their weapons had already caused massive destruction. The air was thick with fear and uncertainty. The military's last line of defense was the massive airbase known as Runway Alpha. This was where the world's strongest military forces had gathered, preparing for their final stand. The runway, once a symbol of peace, was now a battleground. Fighter jets lined up, ready for combat, and soldiers rushed around, preparing for the battle that could determine the future of Earth. Private Daniel Carter, a young soldier, stood near the runway, looking up at the alien ships above. He could feel his heart pounding in his chest. It was supposed to be just another day in the army, but today, everything was different. Today, they would fight for their survival. "This is it, Carter," his commanding officer, Captain Emma Lawson, said as she approached him. "We either stop them here or Earth falls. We can't afford to fail." Daniel nodded, trying to steady his nerves. His squadron had been training for moments like this, but the reality of war was far scarier than anything they had prepared for. The alien ships were massive, dark, and silent, casting huge shadows over the Earth. They moved with eerie precision, as if they knew exactly what they were doing. The soldiers on the ground couldn't do much except wait. They had already launched missiles, but nothing seemed to affect the alien ships. Their shields were nearly impenetrable. ASE, the airbase came alive with activity. Captain Lawson briefed the soldiers on the plan. "We have one shot at this. Our jets are loaded with the most powerful weapons we've got. We'll hit them hard and fast, aiming for their weak points. We'll have to be quick and coordinated if we want to succeed." Daniel's squadron climbed into their fighter jets, ready for what was sure to be the most difficult mission of their lives. They were flying into the heart of the enemy's attack, and there was no telling what awaited them. But one thing was clear: they couldn't let their world fall without a fight. The jets took off in unison, soaring into the sky toward the alien invaders. The sound of their engines roared in the air as the pilots prepared to face their enemies. Daniel, along with his fellow pilots, stayed close, flying in formation as they made their way toward the massive ships. As they neared the first ship, the enemy unleashed a powerful energy blast, sending shockwaves through the atmosphere. Several jets were hit and exploded in midair. Daniel's heart skipped a beat as he saw one of his friends fall. But there was no time for grief. They had a mission to complete. Captain Lawson's voice crackled over the radio. "Stay focused, everyone. Aim for the weak points. We have to take them down." Daniel's hands shook as he lined up his missile launcher. He locked onto one of the alien ships and fired. The missile hit the shield and bounced off. It was useless. The shields were too strong. He couldn't believe it. How were they supposed to win against something so powerful? But then, a small voice in his ear spoke. "This is Lieutenant Jackson. We found a gap in their shields. If we hit it, we can take them down. Follow me." Jackson's jet zoomed ahead, diving toward the alien ship. Daniel followed, trusting his fellow soldier. He couldn't waste time doubting he had to act. As they neared the gap, Daniel could see the alien ship's shield flicker. It was small, but it was enough. With a deep breath, Daniel fired his missile, aiming for the weak spot. This time, the missile hit. There was a loud explosion, and the alien ship's shield began to collapse. The ship trembled, then exploded in a fiery ball. "We did it," Daniel shouted into the radio. His heart raced as he watched the alien ship disintegrate in the sky. But they couldn't celebrate yet. There were still more ships to destroy. Captain Lawson's voice came through the comms. "Good job, Carter. Now, let's finish this." The alien ships retaliated with more energy blasts, but the human soldiers had found their courage. One by one, the remaining alien ships were struck down. With every explosion, Earth's chances of survival grew. The tide of battle had shifted. The aliens were starting to retreat, their once formidable fleet slowly falling apart. But just as they thought victory was within reach, a massive ship appeared in the distance. It was unlike anything they had seen before, larger, darker, and far more menacing. It was the alien mothership, and it was heading straight for Earth. "Get back to the base, everyone. We need to regroup," Captain Lawson ordered. But Daniel and the others knew they couldn't back down now. They had to give everything they had to stop the mothership before it reached Earth. As the mothership drew closer, the soldiers made their final move. With everything they had, they launched one last assault, aiming for the mothership's core. The battle was fierce, with explosions lighting up the sky as the human soldiers and alien forces clashed one final time. Daniel's jet dodged alien fire as he aimed his missile at the mothership's weak point. The missile hit, and the mothership began to crumble. Earth's last hope was to destroy the heart of the invaders' forces. As the mothership exploded in a massive blaze of light, the remaining alien ships retreated, vanishing into the dark abyss of space. Earth had won, but the cost was great. The runway, now littered with debris and the wreckage of fallen jets, was a testament to the soldiers' bravery. Daniel stood among his comrades, looking up at the stars. The battle was over for now, but he knew the fight was far from finished. Earth had taken a stand, and no matter what came next, they would never back down. The sky above Earth was peaceful, but the tension in the air was undeniable. For years, humanity had lived under the illusion that the universe was vast, but harmless. That was before they saw the first signs of an alien invasion. It wasn't long before the news spread across the globe. Alien ships were approaching Earth, and they meant to conquer the military base known as Fort Alpha. Soldiers prepared for a battle they never thought they would face. Earth had never been attacked by an outside force before. The soldiers, trained for everything from natural disasters to civil unrest, now found themselves preparing for the impossible. Captain Marcus Drake, the leader of Earth's last line of defense, stood at the front of the command center. He looked at the screens displaying the alien ships, massive and dark, moving toward the planet at an incredible speed. His mind raced with questions. How could they fight something they didn't understand? How could they win? "Captain, the enemy ships are getting closer. What's the plan?" asked Lieutenant Sarah Hayes, a member of his team. Drake stared at the screen for a moment before responding. "We fight. It's our only option." As the alien ships neared Earth's atmosphere, the military's first response was to send jets into the sky. The fighters were equipped with the latest technology, but no one knew how effective they would be against an alien force. Still, Earth soldiers had no choice but to try. Private Ryan Mitchell, one of the youngest pilots, strapped himself into his jet. His hands were sweaty as he adjusted his helmet. This was it. He was about to face something no human had ever faced before. Ryan was nervous, but he knew he couldn't let fear control him. The fate of the world depended on him and his fellow soldiers. "Stay focused, Mitchell," his instructor, Sergeant Thompson, said through the radio. "We may not know exactly what we're up against, but we do know one thing: we're not backing down." Ryan took a deep breath and gave a quick nod. As the jets took off, they soared into the sky, ready to defend their world. The first wave of alien ships entered Earth's atmosphere with frightening speed. They released blasts of energy that tore through buildings and sent shockwaves through cities. It was clear that the aliens had advanced weapons far beyond anything Earth had ever seen. The soldiers on the ground scrambled to respond. Anti-aircraft weapons fired at the alien ships, but the blasts bounced off their shields without causing any damage. The military's jets, though fast and agile, were also unable to break through the shields. Captain Drake watched the battle unfold, his mind spinning. He had to think quickly. The enemy wasn't just attacking, they were destroying everything in their path. His soldiers were being overwhelmed, and it seemed like victory was slipping further away. Then, a breakthrough came. Ryan's jet, flying above the chaos, noticed something. One of the alien ships seemed to be emitting a strange, pulsating energy. It was faint, but Ryan had seen similar patterns during his training. If he could hit that energy source, maybe, just maybe, it would weaken their shields. "Mitchell, are you seeing this?" Captain Drake's voice came through the radio. "Take the shot if you can." Ryan nodded. He couldn't waste time thinking. He locked onto the target and fired his missile. The missile shot through the sky and struck the alien ship's energy core. The ship shuddered and exploded in a brilliant flash of light. It was a small victory, but it was enough to inspire hope. The destruction of the first alien ship didn't stop the invasion, but it gave Earth's soldiers a chance. For the first time, they knew the aliens weren't invincible. Ryan's success gave the rest of the pilots new confidence. The soldiers on the ground began to coordinate their attacks, targeting the energy sources of the alien ships. Captain Drake watched as the soldiers rallied together. The enemy was still powerful, but humanity wasn't backing down. Earth's forces fought with everything they had. As one alien ship after another was destroyed, the alien fleet began to lose ground. "We've got them on the ropes," Lieutenant Hayes said, looking at the battle unfolding before her. "We just need to keep pushing." But Drake knew better than to think the battle was won. There were still far too many alien ships, and Earth's forces were dwindling. The military had one last trick up their sleeve, something that could turn the tide once and for all. Deep within Fort Alpha, the military had been working on a secret weapon, a new kind of missile that could penetrate the alien ship's shields. It was Earth's last hope. Captain Drake gave the order. "Launch the final strike." The missile, carrying the hopes of the entire planet, was fired into the sky. As it ascended, Ryan and the other pilots cleared the area to make way for its trajectory. The missile struck an alien mothership, piercing through its defenses and causing a massive explosion. The mothership disintegrated in a fiery blast, sending shockwaves across the battlefield. The remaining alien ships, now leaderless and weakened, began to retreat. The alien invasion was over. In the aftermath of the battle, Earth was left in ruins, but humanity had survived. The soldiers who had fought bravely to protect their world were hailed as heroes. Captain Drake, Ryan, Lieutenant Hayes, and the others had done what no one thought was possible. They had stopped an alien invasion. The world began to rebuild. A sense of unity spread across the globe. The invasion had brought humanity together in a way that nothing else had. The people of Earth had learned that no matter the size of the enemy, they would always fight to protect their home. Ryan stood on the battlefield, looking up at the stars. He had always dreamed of space, but never like this. Earth had faced its first alien attack and survived. And now, Earth soldiers knew that no matter what came next, they would always be ready to defend their world.